Hello, 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 lovers, 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 divine ones, angels of light. Well, hello. I've come in to talk today about masculine and feminine energies, flagpole and the flag, opening to support from your masculine, your divine masculine and the masculine energy, feeling, not thinking, the connection. So I'll be covering some of those topics. I don't want to make it go on and on and on. I'd like to see how I can do this in a shorter audio video. Just because I don't want it to lag on, I suppose, and people listening to it. But I do want to cover some pretty amazing, beautiful, and sort of serious topics. So this is all about how do you show up in connection, and those that are listening, yes, it's for divine, beautiful connections, but we're also going to cover, like with the masculine and feminine energy, it covers conscious relationships in connection. Obviously, from the standpoint I'm going to talk about, this is my personal experience, but what I'm just going to discuss a few incredible, enlightened things that have happened over the last 6 months, and the importance of just discussing these particular topics. And what I want to say first up with the masculine and feminine energy, oh God, I actually started one of these videos, one of these recordings, and I can't get it to work, so I feel I've got to re-record it. So there might be something different that I'm going to say in this one that needs to be said, or something that wasn't said in the other one. I don't know. I'm not very tech savvy. However, what I want to discuss though is about 2 or 3 months ago, I had a huge kind of activation, and it was when I was in water. I was in the pool, and I was just in my complete present state, and I wasn't thinking of anything or anyone. I was just being, and I was floating around. I had the sun pouring down onto the pool, and it was activating my third eye, and it was just really, well, activating me in all different ways, and I just was immersed fully in the water. So obviously my aura was cleansed, and I didn't have that interference of outside energies, etc. So, and I just had this activation, and it was in that moment my divine masculine energy and his full presence, which I wasn't even thinking about him at the time, or us or anything like that, but his arms fully came around in the water and embraced me. And as true as I sit here now, I say that it was that real that I looked over my shoulder, even though I knew I was the only one in the pool, in the swimming pool. I looked over my shoulder. It felt far beyond an energy. It felt like real life. It was that real. It felt like physical arms and hands going around me. And I heard the words, open to support, open to let him support you. And in that moment, I was blown away and they showed me the flag and the flagpole scenario, which I love that analogy, which I have used before, but they showed me how deep it really goes. And they also showed me, my higher self guided me and showed me that a lot of divine feminines, probably most divine feminines out there, are still in a state of not opening for support and creating space in their divine union, and for that, the masculine and feminine energy together. And what I was shown is that there's a lot of narratives out there, and I won't go into all that because there's so much out there that have directed the divine feminine in a certain way. And yes, we've all got to show up this way, that way, whatever way it is, the rising of the divine feminine, which we've seen for years, and we know that. And yes, that had to happen. And yes, we're breaking down these incredible, it's awesome stuff that we're breaking down, that old, toxic, fucked masculine template. Excuse my language, but it's true. Right, it's been a fucked show for many, many, many centuries. So we're breaking that shit down, and that's amazing. But what I've also known for a long time that's kind of missed the beat out there is that there's another level where it's not about the feminine being in control or being in that power of running the show. It's a combination of the masculine and feminine together in a harmonious balance, and it's a combination of the feminine being able to rise in her power and not be suppressed, and be able to express and open to go deeper in love and deeper in connection to herself, and share that and express that and shine on her throne and be the light that she truly is and be in her divine sovereign power. But it's not to control or belittle the masculine. It's not to say, well, you've ruled for centuries, so now we are. So, so we're in control and you do what we say. It's not like that. And I feel that for years there's been the narrative out there. And whether you watch videos on YouTube or wherever, or you're on social media or you're in spiritual circles, the spiritual community really puts this information out there, and everybody jumps on board, a bit like follow the leader. And remember, we are, so many of us divine light beings that are here. Yes, some of us are here in bigger missions in one way or another than others, but we are here to be the forerunners and the leaders. And we're not here to just say, okay, this one is also teaching out there and they've said this, so this must be it. No, look, this is right because she or he channeled it, so that has to be right. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to go within. How do you show up in connection with to yourself is how you show up in connection with your beautiful divine counterpart, your divine masculine or your divine feminine. So with this, we've got to really look at how the role of the feminine and break down what that is, and also the role of the masculine. And the flag and the flagpole are a perfect analogy, because in that way we can actually kind of go, I get now where the feminine's at, and I get where the masculine's at, and I guess how that they support each other in that. So the divine masculine, if getting back to what happened to me in the pool, I then I had a conversation, and I was shown that I wasn't opening to receive the support from my masculine. And I said, why aren't I? And I was told by my higher self that I didn't trust him. And I said, I think I do. And then within that, I just knew along with that activation, it was like everything showed up like a projector screen, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm not opening to his support or to receive it. Like I want it, but I'm blocking it. Oh my God, I am not opening to fully trusting him. Okay, well, that's why I'm not opening to receiving his support, because you have to trust someone before you can receive their support. You have to fully trust somebody and trust them with your life to be able to show up in a way that they can fully support you and open your energy so freely, just like I was floating around in that pool and allowed him to come in, whoomp, and put his arms around me. And it was as real as his physical hands were doing it. I swear it was. And I looked around. I knew he wasn't there, but I looked around. It was that real. So it then activated from that moment. This is maybe 3 months ago. It activated other things in me. And it was like once something was activated for me to realize that a lot of this was coming from not trusting him and not opening to trust him, then from trust comes so many other things that fall into place. So the flag and the flagpole, let's just talk about that for the minute. The flag pole is strong, it's rooted, it's sturdy, it's sort of cemented, if you want to say. It's grounded, it's supportive, and it's protective. What happens with the flag? The flag flies. It flies. It's beautiful, fluid, floaty self. And that's the divine feminine. The divine feminine energies are fluid and floating and vulnerable, but the masculine can be vulnerable too. I'm going to get back to that, but it's gracious and beautiful and sexy and open and vulnerable and strong and powerful, and also, leadership qualities. It's the divine feminine in her full expression of herself is all those things. She's in connection with her sexual energy, her sacred sexual energy, her womb, in honor of her womb, in honor of her divine power, her divine light, her essence, in honor of her body, in honor of her, how everything shows up, right? She's in self-love. She's in honor of no matter how she looks, no matter what body or vessel she's in love with all of that. And she is the embodiment, the true embodiment of that beautiful divine Shakti energy. She is the Mother God Grace energy, the divine Mother energy, which all of creation, as we know, is a feminine divine Mother energy in flow. And the masculine energy, how do they show up? Well, while the feminine energy is fluid and floaty, the masculine energy is firm and grounded and protective and loving and nurturing as well. And because let's not get caught up in the way of, this is feminine, so they can't be in the masculine. Well, we all know we all have masculine and feminine energies, so we can be both in that. If the feminine energy is part of her is to be strong and strength and power, well, then obviously the masculine, we want them the full expression of themselves. So as well as being sturdy and grounded and firm, we want them also to be expressive through their feminine energy, to be open, to be deep in their love, to be able to protect but nurture, honor, respect each other. That energy also to express and to feel emotions, to cry if they want to cry, the masculine, to be all of these other notions and narratives about what a man is and a woman is. That's all BS. That's all from old programming. That's all from that slavery template, that man-controlled template. And that's been done to suppress feminine energy, not just within the female body, but within the male body as well. Why do you think the female energy is suppressed so much in the masculine, in the male? Why do you think they're taught they have to be rough and tough and, they're playing sport and they're competitive and they're this and they're that and, oh, God, they can't cry and, oh, God, they can't do this and, and God forbid if they do, then they'll get, told that they shouldn't or picked on or whatever, right? That's all an absolute deliberate case of how we've been, by the controllers, guided to show up as a masculine and feminine. So don't take much notice of that, because that's all leaving. Goodbye. See you later. We don't want you anymore. So getting back to the flag and the flagpole, the masculine and feminine, the beautiful divine masculine and feminine energy. And we say divine masculine and feminine because that is divine. We say divine because it is divine creator source, God's source, whatever label you want to give it, because everyone gets caught up in labels. Easy sometimes, yes, to say them because people know what you're talking about, but it is pure divine love, essence, and energy. Okay, it's not the conditioned toxic masculine and feminine energy that we have experienced in this life and in previous lives and incarnations and on and on and on. So the divine masculine and feminine energy show up in this beautiful balance of the two. The masculine is the flagpole, the feminine is the flag. She's up there floating. What is she doing? She's being supported by the masculine. She's being supported. Now, if the flag was up there, if you imagine the divine feminine, like how does the flag, it gets stringed up on the masculine stands there, and the feminine is able to be in her full fluid flow and expression of herself. She's not being controlled by the masculine. The masculine is supporting her. Now, if the divine feminine are trying to fly, but imagine having one hand around the flagpole because they're shit scared that the masculine's going to drop them or not support them, then there's no trust. And the energy of that is what is reflected to your divine masculine. So until you, as a divine feminine, you can fully trust your divine masculine to show up in support, in love, honor, respect, show that, trust it, own it. You're the same person, you're in that connection. It's the connection. How your divine partner, whether it's male, masculine or female, how they show up in the connection is how you're showing up in the connection to yourself, because it's reflective. So you ask yourself, how do you show up in connection? And the flagpole and the flag it's a fantastic way to express in a simple term where you can look at it and go, oh wow, am I flying free? Would I be happy for him to support me? Do I trust him with my life? And from a physical standpoint, what's happening? The flag is trusting the flagpole, right? The flagpole, yeah. I mean, he could cut that string, and she could fly, and she could be off, and fall, and that is, I think, what a lot of the divine feminine, where they're still at as a collective. I think they still don't fully trust their masculine, and they don't open to create that space, and they're in their role of sovereignty and on their throne and saying, yeah, I can do this, and yeah, I love you, but fuck you, I'm here doing this, and oh, you're over there, and oh yeah, well, I'm just here, and and waiting and waiting and waiting. But we're magnetic. The divine feminine is the magnetic energy, and the masculine is the electric. The magnetic energy is what leads that flow of that energy. Do they lead in union? I don't believe so. I know in my case, definitely not. I can't talk about anyone else's case or union. Everyone could be different. But I believe, and I know this is because it's my experience of who we are as our connection and our love and our union, I know my divine masculine leads. And what happened is, because I was trying to control it and lead it, is why I wasn't opening for his support. Because when you're controlling and leading, you're in an energy where you're not opening to support because you don't think you need it, right? You don't think you need that support. And you're not even thinking about the support, to be honest. So when we are kind of in that energy of, we get through to our divine feminine, we open up more, we open to receive. We've got to open to receive that support and that love. And if you need to take what resonates with you, I feel, so the divine masculine and feminine, if we want to break it down, both will lead together. But in some cases, the divine masculine will lead through the protection. I know myself, and I've always known, despite And this is why it was a little confusing for me, because despite me being the older one in our connection on this physical earth plane, I always knew that I wasn't the older one. And you kind of might think, what's she talking about? Like, because we get caught up in our physical age and our physical self in this matrix world and what we're doing and what we're seeing, instead of really going within to our connection to ourself, which is infinite and eternal, and we are light. We are divine light being in this physical vessel. So when we connect to that, and I knew even way back, years ago when I was in my ego, and God, I knew nothing much about this connection, and I knew nothing of what was, I'd never even heard of one soul connections or twin flames or twin souls or any of that stuff, right? Divine counterparts, and divine, masculine, feminine energy. I didn't know a lot about that. I was conscious in other areas and ways, but God, was I in my ego, And I still had fears and wounding, and I was fearful of the masculine, and through my wounding as a child, and fearing of men and all sorts of stuff. So you can imagine how I showed up, but even with all of that, I looked at him and I had a conversation with him from the very first moment we sat on the sofa and had a conversation. I just kept hearing wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. This man has so much wisdom, young man or not, but this guy is ancient. Like, he's in a young body, but man, fuck, he's ancient. He is fucking old. Excuse my language, but it's true. And I'm like, and that confused me even more, because I'm like, hang on a minute. Okay, well, we're here to be together. Why do we have this age gap where I'm older? We are taught in the physical world that the older one is more wiser, has more experience, so they usually teach a younger one, blah, 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 all of the fucking narratives. And I got caught up in all of that. But it was confusing because of that, but yet my heart and soul was saying, he knows more than you. Like, look, he showed up to me, like I guess most of you might say you felt with your divine beloved. It was like pure God source energy. I refer to it as like an angel's just shown up at my house, at my door. What the fuck is this? Who is this? And that deep connection, it just like as at the same time as it triggering so many things, it was like my heart and soul took over, and I just talked and talked and talked, and I could open up and express anything to this person that I had never expressed to anyone else in my life. And all I kept hearing is wisdom, 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 wisdom. He didn't say a lot, so why was I feeling like I already knew he had so much wisdom and he was so wise if he wasn't saying much? Because I knew and I could feel it in the energy, and he only had to say a few words here and there that were really wise. And maybe consciously, from a conscious standpoint, maybe he didn't see himself as wise. Maybe he did, but I felt it. And I guess in a way that was a bit intimidating for me, and it was a little bit, because it triggered my insecurities, and I defaulted to my masculine energy because I didn't want to feel vulnerable. But I've always known that my masculine is meant to lead, despite what it looked like in this external world of me being older and him being younger in physical years, in our body on this earth plane. I knew that he was ancient, and I knew that at the time, I'll be honest, at the time I didn't really know that he was like, I didn't consciously determine that he was an older soul or anything. I just thought, fuck, he's wise, like he's wiser than me. And he was more also in touch with who he was as a light being. He might not have figured it out and connected all the dots, but he was very much carefree and in a different energy, like he was more evolved than me. And so this is why I say that don't ever, what appears to the eye, what appears to the naked eye is not always what is the truth. And it's not always what, and what someone else might say to then on top of that, like, you have to go within of what you know is right for you, and what you're feeling. So in your connection, you might find that your masculine leads, and it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of the age of who's older than who. You got to look at what you already know. So my divine masculine, we've had telepathy for a long time. We've been talking, he talks to me so much, and he's so wise, and I take on a lot of what he says, but there was still a part of me up until, maybe the last 6 months that I was still blocking and still resisting because I didn't realize I was. But he's so powerful, and that energy is so powerful that I still had to break down that wounding and heal that wounding that I had that was being triggered from being able to open and step into that, my power and connection to myself, and then in turn allow that to show up in our connection by way of his support and trust, and letting him be the flagpole and me being the flag. So I've covered a bit in all of that, the masculine and feminine energies, the flag and the flagpole, how it works, and opening to the support. And also, what are you feeling, not thinking? It was my thinking that's caused me so much grief over the years that didn't need to be. It's my thinking that blocked so many things between us. It's my thinking that, and analysing everything, or thinking I had to analyse everything, that has blocked so much and created, therefore, so much, and created more karma and created other things. Instead of going with the feeling and knowing 100% or 1,000,000% that what you're feeling, despite how in your ego, whether it makes sense in your ego to anything else in the world, that's the feeling. Because if we were here to be the same as everybody else, we wouldn't be here for the leadership in this divine role that we've played to come back. We wouldn't be here to be the powerful couple and shine our light and bring God's love to earth, sacred creator, divine love to earth, to show that, to show up, to show others a different love and bring in the new earth love template if we were the same as everybody else. Do you know what I say? And anyone listening to this that knows their role here, you're not the same as the majority of people that have come here. You are different. You've come here for that reason. Him and I have come as part of we are one of the key original pairs that have come to do this. And yet, why would I be listening to narratives from other people that are not here in any such role? Why would I be, listening to the thoughts and the chatter and the narratives when I'm feeling that I know that it's completely different? And I think this is where we've just got to really ask ourselves these questions and not get caught up in those narratives out there. Even if you're listening to somebody on YouTube or social media, and they might even be in a divine connection like this, but just remember, and we can learn sometimes from them, but also remember that people teach a lot from where they're at in their consciousness, where they're at in their unions. If they've still got blocks in certain areas, they might have cleared out a bunch of stuff and they might be able to help you with that. But where they're still coming in their wounding, you don't want to be caught up in that energy as well. A lot of, the best thing I ever did was take myself off June last year of social media completely. I had taken myself off other social medias years before, but I was still on one. And that, I don't call YouTube social media. I think it's been around long before, but I guess some people could call it a form of social media. But I just kind of can go on and off as I please, and it doesn't feel like it's, I don't know, it feels different, I guess, to social media. And so, the beautiful sun's just coming out here now. It's been cloudy and dull all day. But yeah, so this is the connection, and it's all about how you show up in connection to yourself first. So remember, it's reflective. So if you were blocking as the feminine, because you're the magnetic energy, and if you're blocking or not opening to trust or not opening to receive and not opening to support, any other things that you can think of and you know that you're not opening deeply for, or especially the love. So out of all of that, you've got this deep love that you feel. And this is what triggers a lot of your things to clear out, because how many of us have or can say that we know how to go into that deep love? How has love showed up in our life previously? How have we been taught unconditional love? How have we been taught unconditional love shows up? Or have we just been taught conditioned love? How have we been taught how deep to go, and how deep you can go in yourself in love is as deep as you can go in love for another. So, and it's reflective to your divine counterpart, because you're the same. So whatever you're blocking, they're going to block. You're the feminine energy. You lead in the sense that you're the magnetic energy. So to come into union, your energy leads that. When you're in union, it's a different story. Okay, and you have to, you see when you're in union. I know for myself, like I said, that I know my masculine will lead. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be in my full expression of my divine feminine power and my masculine, because that's my balance. I've got to balance that within, so without. But I know that we can work together, and I am perfectly, not only perfectly fine with him leading, but it feels so right. It feels like home to me. It always feels like home to me. Us and our connection, he feels like home to me. He is home to me. And for him to lead in that feels right. But if we're going to block that, if we're going to push them back from leading, if we're going to not allow them to show up how they're trying to show up, it's going to feel really awkward to them. It's going to feel not only awkward, it's going to feel a little wrong. It's going to feel a little like, hang on, it feels like I know this is it and this is right and we're meant to be together and I kind of know we're here to do this, but what's she doing? Like, that doesn't feel right, because it feels like I'm supposed to be leading in that harmonious, not in control. So lead and control are two different energies and two different things. And I think when feminine hear the word lead, they think they're being controlled. And that's not the case. And I know a lot of feminine also feel in fear of their masculine stepping up, because they're in fear of losing themselves. They're in fear of losing who they truly are to their masculine, because they think, oh, are they going to take over? Are they going to control? But that's that old energies that you have to release. That's the old paradigm. We've been programmed in that old paradigm. So when we come into the partnership with our divine masculine in a 5D and above relationship or connection, union, not a 3D quote-unquote relationship, again, just labels, you can call it what you want, but for the purpose of the exercise, I'm just kind of saying it this way. So when we come into that higher divine conscious relationship, there is no, I'm better than you. There is no, I'm going to control you. There is no, you fill my cup. There is none of that. It's all conditioned. What there is deep love and connection. There's support, full transparency, full deep love with no conditions, full deep openness. It's full nakedness, full expression. And how deep can you go in that? Because the divine, the sacred sex, the sacred lovemaking, it's going to blow your fucking mind, because it does. And the deeper you can go into that love is going to be even more beautiful. So if you can't open up to that, if you can't open up to receiving from your masculine, then you're going to be triggered as fuck when you're, like I was, when you're in a deep, beautiful, sacred sexual lovemaking. And it's going to be fine and all great and fine and dandy when you're doing it, but then you're going to, because you're caught up in it. But then when you finish and you kind of walk away from that, you're both going to be triggered because of the energies that you still have in fear surrounding that. To go into the deepest expression and connection of yourself is to do it in every level. Mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, energetically, every level. There's nothing hidden from each other in these connections. So you got to bring your full game or you're going to be triggered. And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It's quite the opposite. You come as your full self. You don't have to be perfect. If you're waiting for the day to be perfect before you can say, oh, I'll be in union when I'm perfect, well, it's not going to happen because we're not here to be perfect, And on that note, also, what are you focusing on? If you're saying, oh, that's another thing with the narrative out there, the healing narrative. I'm always healing. I've got another layer to heal. I've got to, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Oh, well, when I do this, union will happen. Or when I do this, my masculine or my feminine will show up. When I do this, and you're always, you instead of being in the present, you're in the future, and you're always telling yourself that you've got something else to do before that can happen, and that's what shows up in your life, in your physical world. What shows up in your physical world is a creation and manifestation of internally, what is going on internally with us. So don't get caught up too much in that healing, because this is another thing I really had to, I kind of removed it over a year ago, but I stopped and thought, wow, every day you think you've got to do something else or you've got to, it just shows that you're not enough. It puts out an energy that you're not worthy of it now. You're not enough now. We're human beings. There's always going to be something, no matter how enlightened you become, or whatever word you want to use, there's always going to be something that'll come up. There's so many different levels of consciousness and levels of perspective. And to a point, there's truths in all perspectives, because whether they're lower consciousness energies or higher, lower dense energies or higher energies, higher consciousness energies. When you can look at everything from that higher perspective, you can come into the true form of love. I'll say unconditional love, but even then it's just pure divine love. It's not conditioned, it's pure divine. So don't get caught up in the whole, I'm healing, I've got more to heal, I'm processing, I'm going through layers. Take that away, because what you focus on is what you create. So if you're telling yourself that you're healing and you're processing and you're going through this, you're always going to be doing that. And you're always going to be caught in that. Whatever you're focusing on, you're creating. If you're doing energy work and, in meditation or whatever, if you're doing energy work or clearing work from a place of clearing negative stuff and clearing darker stuff, then that's what you're focusing on, and you will get more of that. I said this a long, long time ago. Try and work from the positive and the light, not the darker. So if you can show up and work from your light to transmute the lower frequencies and transmute the darker stuff, then you're working from your light to the dark, not the dark to the light. And it means then you will evolve quicker, but also your reality, your external, will show up more of what you want in your life and more of what you're trying to manifest in your life, or what you desire, or just your template for what you're here to do and be, your true divine abundant being, because you're working from the light. So as soon as you shift your energy to work, so say you're doing a meditation and you just work with the light, go into that place, just, know your self-love. If you do affirmations, all these things you do, work from the light. And that will transmute anything that doesn't need to be there. It'll transmute those energies. And when anything pops up, if you have little remnants, because sometimes when we've cleared things, we still have little remnants of past things come back in, patterns, cycles, little loops. That's okay. You go into your heart and let it pass through. I forgive that. That's okay. I'm not in a fight or flight mode. I'm in a beautiful, just divine, sovereign surrender mode. Oh, that's okay. I choose the highest timeline for my divine purpose. I choose the highest timeline, always the highest divine timeline. So I just wanted to share those things with you. I don't think there's anything else to say. That last bit was just a little bit of an add-on to look at what you're focusing on, and please, in every moment, look at where your attention goes and what you're focusing on. And if you've listened to any of this and you find, oh, wow, shit, yeah, I still have that going on, or I'm not open to receive, or I'm not open to the support, or that's fine. Just go into why. Go into meditation if that's the way you do it. Ask your higher self, show me. Some people do it when they have a dream and they go to bed. They say, please show me this, blah, blah, blah. Ask to be shown where you need to release a fear. So I knew mine stemmed back to, and I asked, and I was told straight away in that pool, I said, why after all this time have I not been able to open to his support and trust him? And there was a couple of things, but the main thing was that I just wasn't open to trust fully trust the masculine, the male, because of things from when I was a child, and I found I was terrified of males. I have had other males in my life, but this is to show up. As I said, you've got to be fully transparent and vulnerable, and everything that's needed to show up in this connection, that you have to show up in yourself first, and to show up with your divine counterpart. It's way beyond what you might be able to fake or get past in the way you show up in a conditioned relationship or love. It's completely different. So there was something else I was just going to say, and I can't remember what it was. But I think that's it. I might just leave it at that. I can't remember what it was now. Yeah, so just have a look where you may not be creating that space through fear. Whether if you're blocking your divine masculine or feminine from talking to you telepathically, if you're blocking them in the physical from having that communication with you, it's like until the feminine opens those channels, then the masculine feels the energy. When they're being blocked, they're going to block. All right. It might look different in how the feminines, because a lot of the women say, oh, yeah, but they're off with someone else, or they're off doing that, and look at me, I'm not with any, blah. That doesn't matter. There can be codependency in all different ways. You could be entangled with energies from your children or your mother, father, or friends. That doesn't mean you have to be with a partner, and they might be off with a partner and entangled in that because of what you're entangled in. So it's for the feminine to remove herself in those any entangled codependency energies, and pull back and into herself. You have to fill your cup first before you can help others and fill others. And the divine masculine and feminine do that together, as in their cups are already full before they come in together. If the feminine, as I said, is coming from neediness or any of that first, then they're not going to magnetize their divine masculine, that conscious connection and relationship. They're going to magnetize a more toxic karmic energy, or like a needy energy, one that is conditioned and needs each other to fill things in their lives for them. So yeah, I think, gosh, I've talked for 45 minutes straight. I'm a little tired now. I might finish it there. Oh, I know some people that can do videos that go on forever, and I really honour them. I do. And I honour everyone on this path. I honour all of you beautiful, divine, feminine and masculine out there that are listening to this and far beyond. I honour and respect all of you. This is absolutely incredibly beautiful, but it is not fucking easy. But you know what? It's not meant to be, because we're breaking down so much, and I'm not going to go into all that, but in some way it could have just been simple. And the simple way is when we do let go of all of the narratives and who we think we are, to just open to accept and trust and receive. And we don't need to know how that looks, or how that's going to show up, or how that's going to appear. Again, we are limitless, not limited. We are limitless beings of light that can transmute anything in this physical 3D world. Come on, we all know that. We all talk about it. So it's time to walk it. It's time to do it. It's not time to just talk about it. It's not time to just put it out on videos or social media. It's not time to sit there and say I'm doing it, but then turn off the camera and say you're not, and don't. It's time to be you around everybody. Not be some person, not be, who you truly are at home, but then you've got to go out and be around other people, and so you change for that. It's about fully embracing and embodying who you are, your true divine essence and light, and being your divine partner, that love, honouring that sacredness. So there you go. I think I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. And I shall be back, I'm sure, at another point. Thanks for sticking with me and having a listen. If you're still to this point, I honour you, and for sticking around. Thank you. Shine your light, shine it bright. Don't worry about what anyone else says or anything else. Own it, know it, own it, and show up owning it. Step into it, because if you can't own it and you can't step into it, then that's the energy you're giving out, and neither will your divine counterpart, and neither will anyone else around you be able to accept it. Or not that they need to accept it, but I mean, if you're too afraid to talk to people because of all, they might say this or that or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I said, we're not here to be the same as others. We're here for a reason. When you're here as a leader, you have to be different, because otherwise you wouldn't be a leader. When you're here to bring divine, pure divine source energy to this planet, to raise the frequencies, to bring in the new earth divine love template, to show that in the physical form of the two of you, that's rare. You're not going to see that in other people walking down the street. So stand up and own it and be it and step into it. Okay, lovers, I'm checking out. Peace, love you all. I really do. I honour you all. This is not an easy path, or hasn't been an easy path. But we've got this. We've got this. Just be free and expressive in what you really want and what you know is for you. Don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to step into it. Don't be afraid to call it. You have the power. You are the power, right? And your power as this powerful divine being can transmute any of that other shit. Own it, step into it, and then who you're connected to will do the same. It can't work any other way. That's how energy works. And remember, the feminine is magnetic. The masculine is electric. They both do the role they do so beautifully together. I love you. God bless you. Take care. And talk to you soon. Bye.